Daniel Cole stood at the back of the Great Hall, watching species from across the galaxy line up for the matching ceremony. He was a nobody here, a low-ranking diplomatic attached from Earth, sent to observe, and nothing more. His superiors had not even bothered to register him for the matching process, but someone had made a mistake. His name appeared on the list, and now he stood among thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds, all hoping to find their perfect genetic and spiritual match. The ceremony happened once every 10 years. Matches made here created bonds between species, forged alliances, and sometimes ended wars. Humans rarely matched with anyone. The galaxy saw them as primitive creatures from a death world, too emotional, too short-lived, and too fragile to matter. In 200 years of contact with alien civilizations, only 12 humans had ever found matches. Danny expected nothing. He was here to watch and file a report. The great machine at the center of the hall hummed with ancient power. It was older than most civilizations, built by a species long extinct. Nobody understood how it worked. They only knew that it never failed. When it declared a match, the bond was true. One by one, names were called. An insectoid diplomat from the Crix Collective matched with a crystalline being from the Shimmering Worlds. A massive reptilian warrior found his match in a small, fur-covered scientist. The crowd murmured with approval at each pairing. Danny checked the time. His shift ended in 2 hours. He thought about the cold dinner waiting in his quarters. Then the machine spoke his name. The hall went silent. Danny froze. There had to be a mistake. He looked around, hoping to see another Daniel Cole step forward. But every eye in the room turned toward him. Human designation Daniel Cole, the machine repeated. Please approach the platform. His legs moved without his permission. The crowd parted, and Danny walked forward on shaking knees. Whispers followed him like shadows. A human? Matched with whom? Probably a mistake. The machine is ancient. Perhaps some lower species. A janitor race. Danny climbed the steps to the platform. His heart pounded so hard he could hear it in his ears. The machine scanned him with blue light, confirming his identity. Then it announced his match. Genetic and spiritual compatibility confirmed with Empress Sereth Volcora of the Dravani Empire. The silence became absolute. Danny knew that name. Everyone knew that name. Sereth Volcora had conquered 17 star systems. She had crushed rebellions with such brutality that entire planets surrendered at the sight of her fleet. She was over 400 years old, beautiful as a winter storm, and just as deadly. She was called the Blood Empress. Her species fed on the living essence of other beings. Fear and despair made the blood taste sweeter, and the machine had just declared her his perfect match. This is impossible, someone shouted from the crowd. A human cannot match with an empress. The machine does not lie, another voice responded. Danny stood frozen on the platform. He could not breathe. He could not think. This was not happening. This could not be happening. Then the doors at the far end of the hall opened. She entered like death itself, walking among the living. Her skin was pale as moonlight, her hair black as the void between stars. Her eyes glowed with a soft red light, and when she smiled, Danny saw fangs. Empress Sereth Volcora wore armor of dark metal and silk of deepest purple. Guards flanked her, each one capable of killing everyone in the room. But she needed no protection. She was the most dangerous thing here. The crowd parted before her like water before a blade. She climbed the platform and stood before Danny. She was taller than him by several inches. Her red eyes looked down at him with cold curiosity, like a predator examining strange prey. A human, she said. Her voice was soft, but carried through the hall. The machine matches me with a human. Your Majesty, the ceremony master said carefully, the machine has never been wrong. The compatibility is confirmed. If you reject this match, I know the laws, Sareth interrupted. A rejected match weakens political standing. The other empires would see it as a sign of instability. She looked at Danny again. But this is an insult. A human barely lives a century. They are fragile, emotional, and useless. Danny found his voice. It came out steadier than he expected. I did not ask for this either, Your Majesty. The hall gasped. No one spoke to the Blood Empress without permission, but Sareth did not kill him. Instead, something flickered in her red eyes. Interest, perhaps, or amusement. It speaks, she said, and without trembling. How unusual. I am trembling, Danny admitted. I am just good at hiding it. Another flicker in those deadly eyes. She leaned closer, and Danny smelled something like winter roses and old blood. You are either very brave or very stupid human. My instructors always said both. Sareth studied him for a long moment. The entire hall held its breath. Then she straightened and turned to face the crowd. I accept the match, she announced. The human will return with me to the Dravani throne world. She looked back at Danny, and her smile showed all of her fangs. You belong to me now, Daniel Cole. Pray you prove useful before I grow bored. She turned and walked away without waiting for his response. Her guards closed around Danny, and he found himself marched from the hall. Commander Elisa Park pushed through the crowd, shouting his name. Ambassador Kevin Rhodes demanded to speak with the Empress. But the Dravani guards ignored them all. Danny looked back once as he was led away. His colleagues stood helpless, watching him disappear into the corridor. He was leaving everything behind. His home, his people, his life. He belonged to the Blood Empress now. And as the doors closed behind him, Danny made himself a promise. He would not break. He would not beg. Whatever came next, he would face it standing up. He was human. That had to mean something. Even here. Even now. Even in the hands of a monster. The ship was beautiful in a cold way. Dark metal walls carved with ancient symbols. Lights that glowed soft purple. Silk curtains that moved without wind. Danny's quarters had a bed larger than his entire room on the station. Furniture worth more than his yearly salary. And windows that showed the stars rushing past. It was a prison made of luxury. For 3 days. No one came, except servants who brought food and left without speaking. Danny ate alone. He slept alone. He stared out the window and wondered if he would ever see Earth again. On the 4th day, a young Dravani female entered his quarters. She was smaller than the others, with softer features and eyes that held something like kindness. I am Yenna, she said. The Empress has assigned me to prepare you. Prepare me for what? Yenna hesitated. The feeding. Danny's blood went cold. He had heard stories about how the Dravani fed. They drank blood like the vampire legends of old Earth, but they also consumed emotional essence. Fear and pain made the blood richer. The most powerful Dravani could drain a victim completely, leaving behind an empty shell. When? Danny asked. Tonight. Danny sat down slowly. His hands were shaking, but he forced them to be still. Tell me about her, he said. The Empress. What was she like before? Yenna looked surprised by the question. Before? Before she became this. She was not always the Blood Empress. No one is born that way. Yenna glanced at the door, then sat across from Danny. Her voice dropped to a whisper. She was different once. When she was young, she showed mercy. She freed slaves. She spoke of reform. Yenna's eyes grew sad. Then, her own council betrayed her. They tried to kill her. She survived, but something died inside her that day. She became what they feared as she destroyed them all. She built walls, Danny said quietly, to protect herself. Yes, and now no one can reach her. Not even herself. That night, Guards came to Danny's quarters. They led him through corridors of black stone to a chamber at the heart of the ship. Empress Sereth waited on a throne of dark crystal, watching him approach with those glowing red eyes. Other humans knelt around the edges of the room. Blood slaves. Their eyes were empty, their spirits broken. They trembled at every sound, every movement. This was what the Dravani did to their prey. "Come forward, human," Sereth commanded. Danny walked to the base of her throne. He did not kneel. Sereth raised an eyebrow. "You do not bow? You said I was your match. Do matches bow?" Whispers ran through the guards. Lord Maldois, a scarred Dravani general standing at the Empress's side, stepped forward with murder in his eyes. "You dare speak to the Empress this way? I will tear out your tongue. Enough, Maldois." Sereth raised one pale hand. "Let him speak. I find his defiance entertaining." She stood and descended from her throne, moving with the grace of a hunting cat. Most humans cry by now. They beg. They offer anything to avoid defeating. Why do you not? Danny met her eyes. "Because fear is what you want, and I will not give you what you want." Sereth stopped inches from him. Her presence was overwhelming, ancient, and powerful beyond anything he had ever known. "Brave words. Let us see if you can support them." She took his wrist and raised it to her lips. Her fangs extended, gleaming in the low light. Danny did not pull away. He did not close his eyes. He watched her, and he thought of home. He thought of his sister, killed in the raid when he was 20. He thought of the sunrise over Kansas wheat fields. He thought of laughter and warmth and everything worth living for. Sereth bit down. The pain was sharp but brief. Then came a strange sensation, like something was being pulled from deep inside him. His emotions, his essence. She was drinking not just his blood, but his very self. But Danny did not give her fear. He gave her hope. He gave her the warmth of human connection. He gave her memories of love and loss and the stubborn refusal to surrender. Sereth pulled back suddenly, her eyes wide. "What is this?" She whispered. "What are you?" "Human," Danny said simply. "Just human." She stared at him like she had never seen anything like him before. Her hand still held his wrist, but her grip had loosened. Something had shaken her, though she hid it quickly. "Leave us," she commanded. "Everyone." The guards hesitated. Lord Maldois stepped forward. "Your Majesty, I must advise." I said leave. They left. The door closed, and Danny stood alone with the Blood Empress in her throne room. Sereth released his wrist and walked to the window. Stars streamed past outside, and her reflection was pale against the darkness. "Your blood tastes wrong," she said finally. "Not wrong, different. I have fed on thousands of beings across hundreds of years. None of them tasted like you. Maybe because I was not afraid. No, it is more than that." She turned to face him. "When I fed, I felt things I have not felt in centuries. Warmth, hope, things I burned out of myself long ago." Her eyes narrowed. "What trick is this?" "No trick. That is just what humans carry inside us." Sereth was quiet for a long moment. Then she did something unexpected. She laughed. It was a soft sound, rusty from disuse. "You are strange, Daniel Cole. I claimed you as an insult to be endured. But perhaps you are something more." She walked past him toward the door, then stopped. "You will dine with me tomorrow. Not as prey, as a guest." She left without waiting for his answer. Danny stood alone in the throne room, his wrist still bleeding slightly. He did not know what had just happened, but for the first time since the matching ceremony, he felt something other than fear. He felt possibility. The Dravani throne world was a place of dark beauty. Mountains of black glass rose beneath a sky of permanent twilight. The sun here was old and red, casting everything in shades of blood and shadow. Danny understood why the Dravani had become what they were. This world had shaped them. 2 weeks had passed since the feeding. In that time, Sareth had summoned Danny to dinner 6 times. They talked about politics, history, art, and war. She tested him with questions and riddles. He answered honestly, even when honesty was dangerous. Something was changing between them. Danny saw it in the way she looked at him now. Less like prey, more like a puzzle she could not solve. But not everyone was pleased with this development. Lord Malthus had served Sareth for 200 years. He had crushed her enemies and expanded her empire. He expected to be her consort one day, the power behind her throne. Now, a human threatened his position. The political gathering brought lords from across the empire to the throne world. Hundreds of Dravani nobles filled the great hall, dressed in silk and armor. Watching Danny with hungry eyes, Sareth presented him as her matched consort. The crowd murmured with barely hidden contempt. A human, one lord said loudly enough to be heard. The Empress keeps a pet now. Perhaps she uses him for entertainment, another replied. Humans screamed so sweetly. Danny stood beside Sareth's throne and said nothing. His face remained calm. Inside, his heart pounded, but he would not show weakness here. Then Lord Malthus stepped forward. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice carrying across the hall. "This human insults your legacy. A true consort should be strong, should be worthy." He pointed at Danny. "I challenge this creature to a blood duel. Let him prove his right to stand beside you." The hall went silent. A blood duel was a fight to the death. Dravani warriors had been killing each other this way for thousands of years. No human had ever survived one. Sareth's fingers tightened on her throne. "Malthus, this is unnecessary. With respect, Your Majesty, tradition demands it. Any noble may challenge an unworthy consort. Unless you wish to reject the old ways." She was trapped. Danny saw it in her eyes. If she refused, she would appear weak. The other lords would smell blood. "I accept," Danny said. Every head turned toward him. Sareth's eyes went wide. "Daniel, you cannot." "I accept the challenge," Danny repeated. "Name the time and place." Malthus smiled. It was the smile of a predator who had cornered his prey. "Tonight. The arena. Try not to die too quickly, human. I want to enjoy this." The arena was ancient, carved into the base of a glass mountain. Thousands of Dravani filled the seats, eager to watch blood spill. Danny stood on the black sand floor, holding a curved blade the Dravani had given him. It felt heavy in his hands. Malthus entered from the opposite side. He was 7 feet tall, layered with muscle built over centuries of combat. His blade was longer than Danny's entire arm. "I will make this painful," Malthus said as he approached. "You embarrassed me before the Empress. Now you will scream for me." Danny said nothing. He remembered the combat training he had studied on the station. Dravani fighting styles were ancient and formal. They followed patterns. If he could read those patterns, he might survive. Might. Malthus attacked. The first blow nearly took Danny's head off. He ducked, rolled, and came up slashing. His blade caught Malthus across the ribs, drawing a thin line of black blood. The crowd gasped. Malthus roared and attacked again. Faster now. Angrier. Danny blocked, dodged, and took a cut across his shoulder. Pain screamed through him, but he kept moving. He could not match Malthus in strength or speed. But humans had something the Dravani did not fully understand. Endurance. The ability to keep fighting long after the body begged to stop. Danny took another wound. And another. His blood stained the sand red. But he did not fall. "Why will you not die?" Malthus demanded, breathing hard for the first time. "Because humans do not know when to quit," Danny replied. "It is our greatest flaw." and our greatest strength. He attacked. The next minutes were a blur of steel and blood. Danny fought with everything he had, ignoring the pain, ignoring the voice in his head telling him this was impossible. He was human. Humans did impossible things every day. His blade found Maldois's throat. The great Dravani lord fell to his knees. Danny's sword pressed against the vein that carried his life. One push, and it would be over. The crowd was silent. Sareth had risen from her seat, her face unreadable. "Yield," Danny said. Maldois's eyes burned with hatred. "Kill me. That is the tradition. I am not Dravani. I follow my own traditions." Danny lowered his blade. "You live, but challenge me again, and I will not be so generous." He turned and walked away, leaving Maldois kneeling in the sand. The crowd erupted. Some shouted in outrage. Others cheered. No one had ever shown mercy in a blood duel. It was unheard of. It was revolutionary. Danny collapsed before he reached the edge of the arena. The blood loss finally caught up with him. The world went dark. He woke in soft light. A familiar face hovered above him. Seyrit. She was pressing cloth against his wounds, her pale hands stained with his blood. Her expression was strange, soft, almost afraid. "You fool," she whispered. "You could have died, but I did not. You showed mercy to an enemy who would have killed you slowly." "Mercy is not weakness," Danny said. "Someone told me that once." Sareth looked at him for a long moment. Then she leaned closer. "You are not what I expected, Daniel Cole. Is that good or bad?" She almost smiled. "I have not decided yet." But her hands remained gentle on his wounds, and she stayed by his side until he slept. Something had fractured tonight. Not just Maldois's pride. Something in Sareth herself. And fractures, Danny knew, were how the light got in. 3 months had passed since the blood duel. Danny's wounds had healed, but the scars remained. He wore them without shame. In the Dravani court, scars were proof of survival. His relationship with Sareth had changed. She no longer summoned him. She invited him. They walked together through the palace gardens, talking for hours under the red twilight. She showed him ancient libraries filled with books in languages long dead. He taught her human card games and made her laugh with stories of Earth. She laughed more now. The sound still surprised the servants. One evening, Sareth took Danny to her private chambers. Not for feeding, for conversation. She poured 2 glasses of dark wine and sat across from him. "I want to tell you something," she said. "Something I have never told anyone." Danny waited. "When I was young, I believed in kindness. I freed slaves. I spoke of reform. I thought I could change my empire through compassion." Her eyes grew distant. "My council saw this as weakness. They poisoned my father against me. When I refused to abandon my ideals, they tried to kill me. What happened? I survived. Barely. I spent 2 years hiding in the outer territories, wounded and alone. When I returned, I was different. I killed everyone who betrayed me. I burned their houses. I erased their families from history." She looked at Danny. "I became the monster they feared, because monsters survive." "But you are still alive," Danny said quietly. "That version of you, the one who believed in kindness. She survived too." Sareth shook her head. "She died in that betrayal." "No, I have seen her. When you laugh at my stupid jokes. When you fed from me and tasted hope instead of fear. When you sat by my bed after the duel." Danny leaned forward. "She is still in there, Sareth. You just buried her deep." Before Sareth could respond, a guard burst into the room. "Your Majesty, urgent news from the colony world of Veth Prime. The slaves have risen. They have killed the governor and seized the capital." Sareth's expression hardened instantly. The warmth disappeared, replaced by the cold mask of the Blood Empress. Prepare my fleet. We will crush this rebellion as an example to others. Sareth, wait. Danny stood. Let me see the reports first. She stared at him. You want me to hesitate? Mercy will only encourage more rebellions. Fear will only delay them. If you crush every uprising with blood, you create martyrs. The next rebellion will be larger. And the one after that. Eventually, you cannot kill them fast enough. Then, what do you suggest? Let them win? Let me talk to them. The room went silent. The guard looked horrified. Sareth looked like Danny had lost his mind. Talk to them, she repeated flatly. Find out what they want. Maybe they have real complaints. Maybe there is a solution that does not require burning another world. Danny met her eyes. You said you once believed in reform. This could be the start. That was a lifetime ago. It does not have to be. Sareth stared at him for a long moment. The guard shifted nervously. Finally, she spoke. If you fail, they will kill you. I will try very hard not to fail. Against all advice. Against centuries of tradition, Sareth agreed. Danny arrived on Veth Prime alone. Unarmed, carrying nothing but a white flag. The rebels surrounded him immediately. Their leader was a massive four-armed alien named Grath, covered in scars from years of labor in the mines. The Empress sends a human to negotiate? Grath laughed bitterly. Is this a joke? No joke. I am her consort. I speak with her voice. Her voice means nothing to us. We would rather die free than live as slaves. Then tell me what freedom looks like to you. Grath hesitated. He had expected threats, demands, ultimatums. Not questions. For 3 days, Danny listened. He heard stories of families torn apart. Children born in chains. Generations who had never seen the sky except through the bars of a work camp. The cruelty was systematic, endless, and very old. On the 4th day, Danny made an offer. The Empress will grant limited self-governance. You choose your own leaders. You keep half of what you mine. The work camp's close. In exchange, you remain part of the Empire and pay a reasonable tribute. Why should we believe this? Because I will stay here as a guarantee. If the Empress breaks her word, you can kill me. Grath studied him with all 4 eyes. You would risk your life for slaves you do not know? I risk my life for the chance of a better future. For everyone. The rebels debated for hours. Some wanted to refuse. Some wanted to kill Danny and continue fighting. But in the end, Grath accepted the terms. Danny returned to Sareth's ship. She met him in the landing bay, her face unreadable. They agreed, Danny said. The rebellion is over without a single shot fired. I watched your negotiations through the surveillance feeds. Sareth walked closer. You offered yourself as a hostage. It was necessary. You could have died. Some things are worth dying for. Sareth stopped in front of him. Her red eyes searched his face, looking for something. You truly believe this, do you not? That compassion can change the galaxy? I believe it can change you, Danny said. The rest of the galaxy will follow. She reached out and touched his face. Her fingers were cold, but her touch was gentle. When I fed from you tonight, I tasted something new. What? Love. Danny's heart stopped. Then started again, faster than before. Sareth leaned closer, her lips almost touching his. You have awakened something in me, Daniel Cole. Something I thought was dead. She pulled back slightly. I do not know if I should thank you or kill you for it. Can I vote for the first option? She laughed. That beautiful, rusty sound. Yes, she whispered. I suppose you can. And in that moment, standing in the landing bay of a warship that had destroyed worlds, Daniel Cole kissed the Blood Empress. Everything was about to change. News of the peaceful resolution on Veth Prime spread across the galaxy like fire. The Blood Empress had shown mercy. She had negotiated with slaves. She had allowed reforms. Some called it evolution. Others called it weakness. Lord Malloys called it opportunity. He had spent months rebuilding his influence after the humiliation of the blood duel. Now he gathered other lords who feared what Sereth was becoming. They met in secret, whispered in shadows, and planned the end of an era. Danny knew something was wrong. He saw the sideways glances, the conversations that stopped when he entered rooms. He warned Sereth, but she dismissed his concerns. "The lords fear me too much to act," she said. She was wrong. They came in the night. Danny woke to the sound of explosions. The palace shook around him. He reached for Sereth, but she was already gone, summoned to an emergency meeting that had been a trap. Armed soldiers burst into his quarters. Malloys led them, his scarred face twisted with triumph. "The human pet," he said. "The one who poisoned our Empress with weakness. Take him," Danny fought. He killed 2 soldiers before they overwhelmed him. They beat him until he stopped moving, then dragged him through corridors filled with smoke and screaming. The throne room had become a battlefield. Loyal guards fought against the rebels, but they were outnumbered. Malloys had planned well. He had bribed and threatened until half the military supported his coup. Sereth was already there, held by 6 soldiers. Her face was bloody. Her armor was cracked, but her eyes still burned with fury. "Sereth!" Danny shouted. Her eyes found him. Something in them broke at the sight of his battered face. "Danny," she whispered. Malloys threw Danny to the floor before the throne. "Your Majesty," he said mockingly. "Or should I say, former Majesty. You have ruled this empire for 200 years. You were great once. A true blood Empress. But this human has made you soft. He has infected you with human weakness. Mercy is not weakness," Sereth spat. "Mercy is death. We are Dravani. We rule through fear. Your reforms will destroy everything our ancestors built." Malloys drew his blade. "I will kill the human first. You will watch him die. Then I will take your throne and your life." He raised his sword over Danny's head. "Wait." Sereth's voice cut through the chaos. The room went still. "Release him," she said. "Release him and I will abdicate. I will give you the throne willingly. No more blood needs to be spilled." Danny's heart seized. "Sereth, no. Be quiet, Danny." Her eyes never left Malloys. "This is my choice." Malloys laughed. "The great blood Empress surrendering for a human. How far you have fallen. Do we have a deal?" Malloys pretended to consider. Then he smiled. "No." He swung. Sereth moved faster than Danny's eyes could follow. She broke free from her captors with strength born of desperation, crossing the room in a blur. Her hand caught Malloys' blade inches from Danny's neck. Blood ran down her palm. But she did not let go. "If you touch him," she said, her voice colder than space, "I will tear out your heart and feed it to you." Then she attacked. What followed was not a battle. It was a reckoning. Sereth fought like nothing Danny had ever seen. She was speed and fury, and 400 years of combat experience unleashed. Rebels fell before her like wheat before a scythe, but there were too many. Even an Empress could be overwhelmed. A blade caught her side. Another her leg. She stumbled. Malloy saw his chance. He charged, sword raised for the killing blow. Danny threw himself between them. The blade meant for Sereth pierced Danny's chest. Everything stopped. Danny looked down at the steel inside him. It did not hurt yet. That would come later. No. Sereth's scream echoed off the walls. She caught Danny as he fell. Her hands pressed against his wound, trying to stop the blood that poured through her fingers. "You fool," she whispered. You stupid, brave fool. Had to, Danny managed. Love you. Sareth's eyes filled with something Dravani were not supposed to feel. Tears. Drink, Danny said. My blood. It will heal you. It will kill you. Probably, but you will live. That is enough. Danny, please. Sareth hesitated. Then she lowered her head to his neck. She drank. Danny felt his life flowing into her. It should have been terrifying. Instead, it felt right. He was giving himself to her completely, holding nothing back. This was love. This was sacrifice. This was what humans were capable of. The rebels watched in shock. Even Malloys froze, unable to look away. Sareth pulled back. Her wounds closed. Her eyes blazed with new power, human warmth mixed with Dravani strength. She stood and faced Malloys. My turn, she said. 30 seconds later, Malloys was dead. The remaining rebels surrendered. The coup was over. Danny woke 3 days later in the softest bed he had ever felt. Sareth sat beside him, holding his hand. You should be dead, she said. Your heart stopped twice. What happened? When I fed from you, something changed. Your essence mixed with mine. I gave some of it back. She touched his chest, where the wound was now just a scar. You carry part of me now, and I carry part of you, so we are stuck with each other. Forever, it seems. Danny smiled weakly. I can live with that. 1 month later, Empress Sareth Valkyra stood before the Galactic Council and announced the end of the blood slave system. All slaves in the Dravani Empire would be freed over the next decade. Reforms would bring rights and representation to conquered peoples. The galaxy was stunned. Danny stood beside her, not as a pet or a prize, but as her equal, her consort, her match. When reporters asked what had changed her, Sarah smiled. A human taught me that true strength is not the power to destroy. It is the courage to heal. To choose mercy when revenge would be easier. To love when fear would be safer. She looked at Danny. Humanity surprised me. I suspect they will surprise the galaxy as well. That night, they stood together on the balcony of the palace, watching the red sun set over the glass mountains. Everyone found their match at that ceremony, Danny said. I got the ruthless alien vampire Empress. Do you regret it? Danny took her hand. It was still cold, but now it felt like home. Not for a single second. Sareth leaned against him. Neither do I, she whispered. Neither do I. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the galaxy was learning a new truth. Never underestimate a human heart.